of cover. You belong in that home by and by. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere close to me, far away from your trouble and worry. You belong somewhere you feel free. You belong somewhere you feel free.
All right, welcome to my Sonder fam. Happy Wednesday, almost end of Wednesday, almost made it through the week. My name is Maya and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, where it was beautiful and sunny today. Still is, you can kind of see the sun out there a little bit. And my stage manager for this afternoon, evening is Jennifer Ogilvie. So she'll give a little wave
Hey,
there.
everybody. So glad you're here with us on Hump Day.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
She will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, be sure to pop those in there. I try to keep an eye on it as well, but sometimes when I'm running all the gadgets, sometimes it gets a little hard for me to monitor chat. So make sure you pop questions in there. I did see some folks saying that they were having a hard time. You want to make sure that you set the chat to everyone, or sometimes it will say something like everyone, attendees, and panelists, or something like that, depending on which version of Zoom, or if you went through Eventbrite, that kind of thing. And I know sometimes on the phone, it will flip it back to only the host that you send the messages to, like every time. And I don't know a way to make it stop doing that unless there's something in settings, which we haven't discovered yet. So if anybody knows how to make that stop doing it, you can always type that in the chat and maybe help out your fellow Sonder fam. Otherwise, just remember to kind of pop that in there. Yes, technology is great when it works, and it's just a nightmare. Here's a tip for you. My tip of the day. I have a flash drive, the little thumbnail drives that I use, and I had all my teaching. I teach at university, adjunct professor, and I had all my course stuff from 2007 on this flash drive, and I use it all the time. Everything's on there, and guess what? It stopped working. I can't get the files off of there. So, total panic. There's some data recovery services that I'm working with. So I'm hoping that they can at least get the files off. I have no idea how much that's going to cost. So my pro tip to you is don't use a flash drive as a kind of permanent source. It's only supposed to be for a backup. So don't make the same mistake. I mean, I guess it was one of those things. I don't know. I guess I thought it lasted forever. I don't know. But guess what? It doesn't. So that's my little tech tip of the day. So today we're going to plant our Adoration garden. This is one of our fun kind of exclusive activities that we do. It's not anything that's in your journal. You can use a blank notes page to do this, or you are more than welcome to use scratch paper, whatever else you want. And I see Katie's like so excited to find out what an Adoration garden is. And I'm like, yep, when they assigned this one to me to facilitate, I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to decide what that Adoration garden is. I also want to make sure to point out that just by joining our social, you are entered into the self-care gift raffle. You don't have to do anything extra. You're here, you're entered. Once a month, they will do a raffle drawing, and they will let you know via email that you have won. And keep an eye out. Usually it's in our Compass newsletter. They will talk about the monthly winners. So keep an eye out for that. I also like to mention to folks, especially for our first time folks, you should be getting emails from Silk and Sonder on a pretty regular basis. There's usually about one thing a week. Sometimes it's a discount on some product. Sometimes it's little tips and tricks. Sometimes it's the compass. So if you're not getting any emails, and it will be whatever you use to sign up with, make sure you check your spam filter. If you have Google, make sure you check the promotions tab. A lot of times Silk and Sonder ends up getting lost in there, so move it out of there. But if you're not getting anything from them, you can always send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com, and Jennifer will pop that in there into the chat as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But if you ever have any problems with anything Silk and Sonder related, right, don't hesitate to send them an email. They're very, very, very happy to help you and make sure that everything is working. Make sure that you have what you need, right? So please keep an eye out for emails. If you're not getting those emails, be sure to check in, because you don't want to miss out, because there's all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, and people are talking about the time zones for the socials. Oh my gosh, I must check 1,000 times to make sure that I have written the right time zone down, right? It's like, yes, Jennifer's saying she sets 20 alarms, right? It's like, I don't want to miss it. But you're here, and awesome. All right, so everybody's got something to write with, some pens, markers. You might want to have like your washi tape if you want to use that for your garden, stickers. If you want to use a little watercolors on your picture, that's absolutely fine. But first, you know that this month's theme is adoration. And it's one that a lot of folks have kind of struggled with. It's kind of a weird word, and I feel like sometimes we use it in different ways. But we really want to focus on the fact that adoration can be for people, it can be for places, it can be for things, it can be for emotions. And really what we'll focus a little bit on today is the idea of self-adoration, right? Again, that self-love, self-care for you. So today we're going to have a little warm-up activity, get you kind of thinking about adoration, right? Like, what is that? What are some things that you adore? And then we're going to have our adoration garden, and then we're going to close it on out. So everybody hopefully is ready to go, and we will kind of get moving with our first activity. So this is a two-parter. So what I want you to do, again, find a blank page or scratch paper or some sort of something to write on. And for this first part, what I want you to do is to draw, we call it a cup of tea. Not everybody likes tea, right? So it could be a cup of tea, it could be a cup of hot cocoa, it could be a cup of coffee, cup of hot water, cup of lemon water, whatever you want it to be. And we're kind of, since it's still kind of wintry, we're still kind of thinking, you know, kind of winter months, warm, something nice and warm. So draw that mug however you want to draw it on your paper. And inside the mug, write all of the things that you can do for yourself. Right? It could totally, Holly, it can totally be a martini glass. I'm down with that. In that glass or in that mug, write down all of the things you can do for yourself to bring self-love, right? What are things that you can do for yourself? So this is very much focused on filling your cup, your mug, your martini glass, your margarita glass, right? A shot glass is probably too small. We want to have a bigger, cup here, a bigger vessel to keep our self-love in. So I'm going to play a little song, let you work on that. Feel free to share in the chat the kinds of things that you're writing in there, and then I'll pop back in and we'll go to part two. All right. So, whoops, turn my video up. Having trouble with my video there. Come back on. All right. So I saw lots of fun things in the chat, things that you can do for yourself. Naps, absolutely. Naps are so underrated, right? Why was it when we were a kid and people told us we had to take a nap, we didn't want to, and now like that's all I want to do is take a nap? Pedicures. I love like trusting my instincts, listen to my knowing, being open, value my ideas, accept my humanness. I love that. Forgiving myself, giving myself inspiration. Let's see what else is it. There's always so many things. Sometimes it gets going really fast there. Going to the library, movies with popcorn, right? Absolutely love that. Sleep, plus snuggling with their puppers or kitties or any sort of little beasties. The daily rituals on our Sonder Club, taking a long shower, building a Lego set. I am not good at Lego sets, so that would not be good self-care for me. That would stress me out. The true crime binge. I love how many of our Sonder Club folks are super into like the true crime and all the like murder podcasts and all those kinds of things. That's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I know it's a lot of people. I have a couple sisters who that's all they ever watch and they just love it. So more power to you, right? Giving myself grace, reading books for fun, avoiding toxic people and places. Absolutely. Forgiving myself for a hard day, accepting a compliment graciously, right? How often does somebody give us a compliment and we come up with some weird excuse like, oh, it's not really that great, or like, oh, your hair looks really nice today. It's like, oh, well, I'm not really happy with it, right? Like next time someone pays you a compliment, just say thank you and stop, right? And see how that feels. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I feel like a lot of times we feel like we have to kind of, downplay things, but when somebody gives you a compliment, just smile and say thank you, right? It's nice to be complimented, and you are totally worthy of that. I also liked someone had put going to a Sonder Social, right? That's something that you can put in your cup. Dressing up nicely. It is fun sometimes to get dressed nice, especially after kind of these last few years of like being at home so much. It's kind of nice to sometimes put nice clothes on. Trivia night, all sorts of super awesome, really, really fun ideas. So this is a great thing to kind of go back to and remember here are all these different things that you can do for yourself, because I'm going to take you now to part 2. And so now what I want you to do is expand in your cup steam, right? But that's why I was saying like a hot beverage, right? So steam coming out of your cup or your mug or somebody said, I have a really big shot glass. Okay, if you've got a nice hot toddy in there that you're going to put in there and it's got some nice steam. So draw some steam coming out of that cup, right? And write down ways that you can show adoration to others. So think of different things that you can put, and I'll show you mine that I did, and I did it. You'll notice I did it in pencil because I'm always afraid of Jessica. I know I probably should have told you leave room for steam. You could put, you could also have it be maybe the cookies that are on the bottom part of the cup if you want, if you have a little bit of room there, or you could always put yours in another page. Yeah, a lot of times for these socials, I draw in pencil because I'm always worried I'm going to make a big mess, and at least there I can kind of erase and make some things. So I have kind of my things in my cup that fill my cup. Right. So here's all the things that fill my cup is like rest and clothes that fit, time with friends, setting boundaries, sleep, snuggling with my kitties, time with family, Disneyland, time with my husband, expensive chocolates, right? There's lots of other things. I'm sorry. I should have told you guys to make sure to leave some room. I'm sorry about that. You can like figure out maybe what else goes with like a nice cup if you have room to put, maybe it's not steam, maybe it's little bubbles on the outside of your cup that you can fill up with. How can you show compassion, or how can you show adoration for others? So I put in my little heart, I kind of did a little heart of steam, and I put compliments, hugs, little gifts, cookies, postcards, text messages, phone calls, flour, and time. Those were some things that I thought of. Yes, great idea. Ashley's like, maybe put a saucer under the mug. Oh, whipped cream or marshmallows. Excellent. Those would also be very great ways to draw in some things, to put in some extra, to put in that adoration for others. Sugar cubes, you could certainly use as well. If you had some room, you could maybe put some little, maybe it's in like your tea bag. If you draw like a little string and you can kind of have, a twizzle stick. Yep. Stir stick, spoons. You could have little spoons on the outside. Oh, and Jessica drew a table under the cup and is making napkins. Love it. Love it. All right. So I'm going to give you some time to fill that in. I'll go back to this. And because what I want is for you to really see that by filling your cup first, you can help spread adorations to those around. Oh my gosh, somebody's like coffee beans. Perfect. Or it could be tea leaves, that you could have little tea leaves, are those ways that you can show adoration for others. You guys are all so smart. It's perfect. Everybody is so helpful. All right, I'm going to play another little song and then I'll pop back in. All right. First of all, you guys have fabulous ideas and thoughts, and I just loved all your different ideas for things you could do with the pictures. And absolutely, I would love to see some pictures of these finalized pages with your coffee and your coffee beans, or your tea, or your hot chocolate with your marshmallows. All of those things are just wonderful. And so, looking at all the different things that we can do for others, right, to kind of show that adoration for others. And you notice a lot of these, like, these are not huge things necessarily, right? Like, these aren't going and spending a lot of money or buying huge extravagant gifts. They're doing things like checking in on older neighbors, making sure everything's going okay with them, especially when it snows or if it's bad weather, texting friends, texting someone. I love the teacher who has her students on Thursday text someone who's been there for them this week, right, and calls it Thankful Thursday. I think that's such a great idea to get people in that habit of, it doesn't have to be a special occasion. They don't have to have necessarily done something in particular, but like thanks for being there and listening to me, complain about whatever, or thanks for being there when I needed a sounding board, or I needed somebody to make me laugh, or there's one person on Facebook that posts the best memes. I think that's all she does, is just post memes all day. And they're hilarious. She just posts the most hilarious things. And it's like, thank you so much for just popping those funny things on there. And just lets us, they lift our spirits and make us smile, and just so helpful. So hopefully what you noticed as you were doing both of these, right, your cup and your accessories, right, your others, right, the cup is you. If you didn't have anything in that cup, if that cup was empty, it's really hard to have the steam. It's really hard to have, I suppose you could have coffee beans, right? But I don't know if there's nothing in their cup. And the point of that really is that if you don't fill your cup first, you're not going to have anything to pour out or, and give to someone else. I think someone had mentioned they had drawn a pitcher. And so like the idea of pouring adoration, right? So having kind of this pitcher of, it would be great if it was like self-adoration was your pitcher, and then you could pour into other people's cups, right? So it's such a great idea of that. And I also, somebody had asked to show part one, so I'm going to pop back to the little cup so they can do a screenshot. But if you listen to today's daily rituals, right, and I highly recommend those. And I'll be honest, sometimes Jennifer and I were talking about this earlier. Sometimes I forget to listen to those. And so I'm a little bit behind, right? But it doesn't have to be morning. It's just daily, right? So it could be at night. It could be on your lunch break. They're not very long, but today's was really good because it ties in really nicely with this idea of, the cup and filling your cup and self-adoration and self-love. And so one of the things that she has you do, if you haven't done it already, now you've got a head start with this. And if you've already done the daily ritual, you probably had a head start for this one. But this whole idea of, if I loved myself, what are ways that I can show self-love? And then thinking for the next 24 hours about asking yourself the following question for every choice that you make, right? Because our days are full of choices. We have lots and lots of choices that we make, some small, some big. But with every choice you make, if you start out asking yourself, if I were choosing to love myself, I would blank. And then how does that impact your choice, right? So maybe if I was choosing to love myself, I would not take on extra projects that I know are going to drain me, that I don't really have time for, that I'm going to feel really overwhelmed by. Maybe I don't do that extra thing. Maybe I take time for myself to join the Sonder Social. Maybe I take some time to be in the club, on the app. And so really kind of thinking about that. So if you haven't done the daily ritual today, I think it's a nice tie-in with this if you get a chance after we're done to kind of go through there. But again, hopefully you can really kind of see it's very important to not only think about things that you can do for others, and especially, when you adore someone, you want to do everything you can for them, right? And you start sometimes losing the care for yourself because you're doing everything for them, right? Children, significant others, family members, really good friends, right? You want to give and give and give, but we have to make sure that we also fill ourselves as well, and that we surround ourselves with people who are also going to be giving and filling their own cup, right? So it's this, we get into that, if we get into that cycle, right? And we all always have full cups, and we're giving from our full cup into someone else's cup. And then everybody just kind of, it's like the little champagne tower, that they start out, the little champagne cups that are all in the big tower, and they start pouring at the top, and it all fills all of those in, right? See, surround yourself with people who will help you make your lovely champagne tower so that you can feel fulfilled and feel good and really be able to give all of yourself to different people and to different projects and to yourself, right? All right, so hopefully everybody has a nice start on that. And you're like, when are we gonna get to the garden, right? So let's get to our garden, right? I'll get past my little cup there. So I don't know how many people are gardeners. I will be super upfront and say I want to garden, but I have noticed that our house is south facing, and the sun literally is always just up and over the top of our house. So there's no area in our yard that gets full sun all day, right? Each part of the yard gets sun, but only for a little bit. So some of the things that I've tried to plant have not done very well. And I saw somebody says they have a black thumb. Some people are saying they have no room to garden. So I killed a cactus. I've done really well with my plants indoors. That was one of my pandemic purchases, was I was buying lots of different little plants, and I have a very lovely little shelf that's west face or east facing, and so it gets the morning sun, and very, very beautiful. But so you do have to think about, right, like what can I plant where and what's that going to look like? Oh, Sherry, her cats ate her plants. That's really not helpful, right? Cats think they're being helpful. They're like, oh, it's so nice you planted this for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, find a notes page, find a blank piece of paper, whatever you would like to draw on, and you're going to envision your garden. And this can be however you envision it. Maybe you want it's a vegetable garden. Maybe it's Melissa's saying her sunflowers were as tall as her house last year. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, my sunflowers are not. Sunflowers don't get happy on that side. We have a lovely clematis that grows and makes very happy flowers, but or maybe you want to do flowers, right? I'm pretty good with the clematis because all I do is water it. Or maybe it's some sort of plants in your garden or something like that. And so as you're drawing your garden, so make it as big or as large. I won't fool you with the steam. I won't add anything extra to your garden this time. So you don't have to worry about taking up your whole page with your garden. But I will say, so you're going to have things you adore about yourself, things about you adore or loved ones you adore, and the world around you. So let me give you some tips and tricks as you think about drawing this in your journal or on your stretch paper, right? So you can include things like the sun and the water and elements, right? And write what allows your adoration to grow. So you can see there's kind of the little picture of the adoration garden. That's not mine. I'm not actually sure whose that is. They put that in the slides for us. So I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I have not finished my little adoration garden. But you can see they have kind of the bottom, like think about the soil, right? So in the bottom, they have things that maybe are the soil, maybe the things that are the foundation as you are growing your garden. Maybe some of those items that you're going to put in here are going to be seeds. Maybe the things that you adore, you've just kind of started with and you don't know. Maybe you're in a new relationship, or maybe you just started taking classes, or maybe you have a new job, or pizza in the bottom of the garden is a classic for growing flowers and vegetables, right? So the small seeds. So maybe you have some little seeds in one part of the garden that are things that you are just working on, things you're just starting to grow. Maybe it's your silk and sonder practice, right? Maybe that's one of the things that you adore, but it's a little seed. It's just starting. You haven't been doing it for a long time, but you want it to grow. You want to nurture it. And also think about one of the things is how are we going to keep the weeds from growing? Of course, some people will say a weed is just a plant that's growing someplace you don't want it. Right? So, but thinking about like, how are you going to keep things out that are the undesirables, right? The things that you don't necessarily want in your garden. Well, your plants have room, right? Tomato plants need a lot of room to grow, right? But you can get a lot of those in there. The sunflowers, right? That someone was saying had grown as big as their house, right? What does that look like in a garden versus maybe things that are growing very small to the ground? And how can you balance that? Right? Can you actually plant multiple things that are different, that grow at different levels so that you can have a very full garden? And what if each plant needs something different to grow? So what kinds of things do you need? So if you have like maybe a watering can, maybe the watering can is your attention, right? So what of those things need your attention? What of those things maybe need dedicated time, right? Kind of thinking about that. Do you plant different items at different times in your garden, right? Are there different things? Do you have multiple little gardens going? Do you have just one big garden? Do you have a big garden, but it's kind of divided out into sections? You could think of the big garden as your life and like maybe quarter it off with like work and family and maybe friends, and I don't know, something like hobbies or something like that. So maybe you have some different gardens going with different things that you adore. Do you need a fence to keep out those hungry animals? I saw someone had said they had deers and cats. And so what does that fence look like around your garden, right? So take some time. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to just play a little song, and we will let you work on your garden, and I will check back in with you momentarily. So just really quick, I wanted to point out in the chat, people had some really great points about their fence is boundaries, right? And setting boundaries, and certainly learning to set good, healthy boundaries for ourselves, right? Like, I need this time for myself. I am not going to be checking work email during family time. I am not going to be, spending time maybe watching TV when I could be doing something else, right? So think about your fences boundaries. The other thing I wanted to mention is, if you're like me, right, you saw me draw in my journal in pencil because I was like, I don't want to mess it up, right? Even though you really can't mess it up, I know we still get that kind of like, oh, I want to be able to erase it, right? Which I can't with the marker. Maybe you want to do some notes, right? So maybe you just want to kind of like bullet point out, like, okay, things I want in my garden, family, right? So kind of bullet point out the things in your garden. Maybe you bullet point out some of the different, fence, or, your boundaries, those kinds of things. Maybe you also bullet out the things that you think are going to be the soil. What are the foundations? Maybe in the soil are things like sleep and fruits and vegetables, eating healthy fruits and vegetables, or those kinds of things. So again, you don't have to necessarily draw this out right away. And it's a great idea. It's still pretty early in the month, even though we have a short month, to kind of like write out, just jot down, brainstorm all these different things you want in your garden. And then each day spend a little time drawing your garden, right? What do these different things look like? Is maybe family members are flowers and friends are different vegetables, and some of your work things are some sort of other, like, what else can you plant in a garden? What other kinds of fun things? Maybe it's, sometimes people have gardens that are just have interesting trinkety kinds of things in there, right? Yeah, Jennifer's like, the toxic people are weeds. So thinking about that. So I'm gonna let you keep working and I'll check back in.
In the morning when I wake and the sun is coming through, oh, you fill my lungs be close to you? Can I be close to you? Can I take you to a moment where the fields are painted gold and the trees are filled with memories of the feelings never told? When the evening pulls the sun down and the day is almost through, oh, the whole world is sleeping, but my world is here. Can I be close to you? 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 Can I be close to you?
All right. I saw lots of fun, comments in as you're kind of thinking in the chat and this, I love this idea of just as people are kind of blending, flowers with other things in their life or with, so if you think about the people that you adore, would they be flowers? Would they be vegetables? Would they be, I saw someone was talking about doing a rock garden, which I think is absolutely appropriate, right? Rock gardens can be very, very lovely, except she said having to be careful with the mower not to hit a rock and, throw that through the window or something. That would be bad as well. So I know that some people are, again, still working, kind of thinking of different ways to incorporate this. And speaking of the rock garden, I did make another slide with other fun ideas for the garden. Okay, so I was telling my sister about this activity and calling it the Adoration Garden. And she says, I adore cheese. And I said, okay, you could have a garden of cheese, right? Here's all this different kind of cheese. And maybe the sharp cheese is your sharp-witted friend who always makes little sharp, comments and little jabs and pokes and those kinds of things. And maybe there's like a nice mellow, like a nice mellow Gouda or something that maybe that's more of your maybe your significant other or something who's very, very mellow and kind of takes things as it is. And then maybe there's another like really flavorful, zesty cheese that reminds you of, again, another person or a coworker. Maybe there's the cheese that crumbles and you're like, oh yeah, I got a couple friends who kind of crumble at the slightest bit of pressure, right? But I love them very much and they're fabulous, even though they're kind of crumbly, right? So I've got my little cheese tray over here. Again, have fun with this garden. I also found a garden of sound, not to be confused with Soundgarden, the band, but I've found a lot of different places that have these different things where you can make sound, right? So you can bang on kind of bells and there's different sticks that you can kind of play with. And like, what would that look like if your garden had different kinds of things that made sounds, right? Here's something that's kind of a kind of ringing and very tonal. And what does that remind you of things you want in your garden versus maybe something that's very sharp or very, like a clackety clack noise? What does that kind of remind you of? Or of course, you could always have some sort of a garden under the sea, right? You can have this coral reef garden with different beautiful corals and different fish that are swimming around. So what would that look like? All right. So, and I know some folks were asking about the songs. I do have a playlist at the end, so I will post that. But again, I'm going to go ahead and pop on another song so that you can keep working on your gardens, keep up with the wonderful chats, and I'll pop back in here momentarily.
Skies, voices the southwest. Then I thought it might be you by the way you were described. She had the kindest eyes. We Someone prayed you were there for them once again, like a miracle, miracle angel. Now I think it might be true by the way you were described. She had the kindest eyes. Now I know all of it's true by the way you were described. She has the kindest eyes.
All right. This is not Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, but it sounds like it could be, right? It's just, I will tell you, it's always fun to find songs for these socials. I like to finding the instrumental ones. And really, if you go in and you just kind of type, you go into any of the music apps and you can kind of type in the name of the song and then type the word instrumental after it, you can almost find an instrumental version. Not that they're always great, right? But anyway, and I love, so many fun ideas, people using quotes as part of their garden, people really talking about having a really nice long list of things that they were using for the soil, things that had to be in the soil. So fantastic. And I love people who are like, I'm not artistic. I'm just going to write on a Post-it note for right now. And I'm going to really think about what I want my drawing to be. Absolutely fine. I am the same way. I start drawing and then I wish I would have done something different. And then I get frustrated because it's not how I want it to be. So again, make this your own. Spend some time in your garden, right? It's a fun, you could even every morning look at your garden. It's a lovely garden. Maybe you want to add some little bees that are kind of buzzing around. What kinds of things are the little bees buzzing around? All of those different things. So fun. So please, please, please be sure and post those in the Sonder Club. So believe it or not, we have come to the end of our gardening time. You have a lovely cup or some sort of vessel full of things for yourself. You have lots of things that you can give others, adoration, ideas. And so please be sure that you share in the Sonder Club. If you don't have those, there's the little QR codes for the app if you don't have it. Jennifer also put the links right in here. And we would also love it if you would take our survey. There's a little QR code there that you can kind of hover over with your camera and get the survey to come up. You can also, Jennifer, put the link in the chat. You will also be getting an email. We really, really love your feedback, your ideas for things that we can do differently. All of these ideas have come from you, right? The Sonder fam, right? Kind of puts things in. I wish we had this. I wish we had that. So please take some time, give us some feedback so far. And for those of you who wanted the list of songs, here's the playlist. Feel free to take a screenshot. I will also probably post this, or Jennifer sometimes does, post it in Sonder Club because I know folks like to see what songs I was playing, what was in there. And I do enjoy finding songs for everyone for the socials. And I thought it was fun this time because I added some that actually did have the lyrics. We try to keep it just instrumental when it's more journaling, but I thought throwing a garden seems like a perfect time for some fun lyrics. So thank you all so much for a fabulous afternoon/evening. For Morgan saying she enjoyed it and it was her first one. So for my first timer folks, I really hope you enjoyed it. We definitely have other socials that are very specific to filling out some pages that are in your journal. So make sure you check all of those out. If they're full, sign up for the wait list. Have a fabulous, fabulous evening. I'm looking forward to seeing some things posted in Sonder Club, and hopefully I will see you soon. So have a great rest of your week.
I've been dreaming, friendly faces. I've got so much time to kill. Just imagine people laughing. I know someday we will. And even if it's far away, get me through another day. Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything'll be alright. Cover me in sunshine. From a distance,